There's a moment in TV where a joke accidentally becomes the most accurate description of something in real life. And weirdly, that moment might be the reason a lot of people even know this NFL team exists. I'm talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, if you've ever watched The Good Place, you already know exactly what I mean. Because one of the main characters, Jason Mendoza, is completely obsessed with the team. And not in a normal fan way. And this is my entire personality kind of way. A Molotov cocktails, bad decisions, Florida chaos, and somehow the Jaguars are always part of it. And it's played as a joke over and over. But here's the thing. Excuse me. It's actually not that far off because the Jaguars are one of the strangest teams in the NFL. Not the worst, not the best, just strange. They don't have the legacy team of like the Dallas Cowboys. They don't have the global brand of like New England Patriots. But what they do have is one of the most unusual timelines in the entire league. They came into the NFL around 1995 as an expansion team, and almost immediately, they were good. Like, not just decent, AFC championship level good, which almost never happens. Most expansion teams struggle for years, but Jacksonville, they showed up. And within a couple seasons, they were beating established franchises. Not then. They didn't build a dynasty. They didn't collapse completely. They just shifted into this cycle where every few years, they suddenly matter again. And one of the most famous examples of that was Blake Bortles' era, which ironically is exactly where Jason Mendoza was obsessed with. That wasn't random. That was specific. Because there was a moment where Blake Bortles was actually winning the games. The Jaguars' defense was one of the best in the entire league. Actually, they made it all the way to AFC Championship again. This was in 2017. And for a second, it felt like, wait, are the Jaguars about to be a real power? And then, just like that, like before, it faded. Not dramatically, just quietly. And now, they're in another phase with a completely different kind of player, Trevor Lawrence. Number 1 draft pick, national attention, next big thing, energy. And again, you see flashes, moments where it feels like this team is about to fully arrive and that expected ability is just kind of like part of their identity now. But here's where it gets even stranger. The Jaguars don't fully belong to just Jacksonville because they've spent years playing games in London. Not occasionally, consistently. To the point where some people genuinely associate them with the UK, which is unheard of in the NFL, to be honest. Most teams are hyper-local, but the Jaguars, they've almost become a shared team. And that ties into ownership, which is another layer people don't always realize. The team is owned by Shahid Khan, who also owns Premier League soccer team. So now you have this crossover of American football, European influence, and a Florida city that already feels a little disconnected from the rest of the state. And Jacksonville itself is a big part of the way that all works. It's one of the largest cities in the U.S. by land area. Spread out, less dense, less flashy, more military, more port-driven, more working infrastructure than image. It doesn't try to compete with Miami. It doesn't try to be Palm Beach. It just exists on its own terms. And the Jaguars reflect that perfectly. They're not trying to dominate headlines. They're not trying to be the most valuable franchise. But every once in a while, they disrupt everything. Big win, playoff push, unexpected run, and then they slip back into the same space where if you know, you know. And if you don't, it sounds like a joke from a TV show, which is exactly why they work so well in The Good Place. Because the joke was never random. It was observational. It was built on the idea that there are parts of Florida and parts of culture that feel slightly off until you actually understand them. And Ted Danson's character, this calm, controlled, all-knowing presence, being constantly interrupted by Jaguars' chaos. That contrast is exactly what the team represents. Because the Jaguars aren't just a football team. They're a pattern, a cycle, a reminder that not everything fits neatly into best, worst, or irrelevant. Some things just exist in the middle space where they don't fully make sense until suddenly they do. And once you see it, you can't really unsee it. So now I'm curious. Did you know the Jaguars before The Good Place or because of it? And do you think they're actually underrated or just perfectly placed right where they are? Tell me in the comments. And if you like understanding the parts of Florida like this that don't immediately make sense, but are actually very real, there's a lot more of this here. See you tomorrow, guys.